Hey friends. I had a great day. I Today was our day off, and I did not really get a day off because I had a bunch of work to do here, sort of admin, and then I had a session with the new drummer. So I had plenty of I had plenty to keep me busy. But I have to say, there's this interesting way in which it's almost like the momentum of what we're doing, what I'm doing. I almost don't want days off. It's not that couldn't use a little time to relax here and there, but there's a kind of catching a wave. I was talking with a friend about this today, about how certain rehearsals, especially in the tech phase of things, it's almost like there's the length of the rehearsal and the fact that sometimes it gets exhausting, and to the place where like, oh wow, I'm really, it's tech. It's like that sense of just being in it for the long haul is actually balanced by the fact that the entire unit, the entire crew, the whole company really gels and begins to work as a unit in that time. And it almost kind of takes those long hours to start the engine of that process. And this is something that my friend was saying that I had not even really thought of, but it immediately rung true for me, because I was like, oh yeah, that really is that feeling of like it's like starting the engine. It's like you're starting the engine of the show, and the fact that all those different things have to fire together in harmony, in concert. Everybody has to wrap their head around exactly what happens when in their track. That's the joy of it. The joy of tech is watching that happen. Because tech is sort of notoriously grueling and demanding, and it's a lot of hurry up and wait, and it's if there are problems with a section of a piece, then you just end up staring at that section for a long time. So it's a kind of infamously demanding part of the process. But I've always loved it. It's for me, either I'm a glutton for that kind of punishment, or I just love being in a theater that much and being that close to all the elements of what's happening and seeing them come together. It's really fun to see it happen, to see the thing be born in its kind of final form. So we're talking about that, and I also realized for myself that there's a kind of analogous feeling in me around this time in the process when it's like I don't want time off. I more than anything, I crave the feeling of knowing my track, knowing my material, being clear with it, being really kind of solid, and just getting it cleaner and cleaner. And I had some time today just playing tunes with the drummer, so it was a nice chance to be able to just sit with the music and play the whole show and remember little things about the scores that need fixing and all that kind of awareness work. And there's also, I think there's something tangential, or not, I don't even know if it's tangential, maybe it's just another thing that's been percolating in my mind, but there's something I'm observing in myself, and this is something this is a larger thing that I think I'm going to spend some time reflecting on, because coming back to my core intention for this whole process and being truly centered there, kind of keeping myself centered there in the intention to use the creative process as a healing process, as a spiritual practice, which is inherently a healing process. There's also something that is causing me to ever more closely observe what I'm thinking, how I'm speaking, like what am I really saying when I talk about something in the show, or when I talk about something not in the show, or when I talk about another person in the orbit of the piece. There are these ways in which I'm noticing my own habits around how and what I communicate and what's actually happening in my brain. And what I notice, again, this is kind of coming out of, I think, a very consistent focus on using this all as a healing process. I notice when I slip out of that mode. In other words, when I temporarily either become distracted or just go kind of off the track of that intention, it's like I've lost my connection to the higher mission of the whole project, of myself. And so temporarily I kind of like come down and I swirl in this eddy of concern about whatever the thing is, and if it involves another person, then I might speak about them, or there's a way in which I find myself even just thinking about other people in a way that's clearly not coming from this place of healing, and I think that because I've been so relatively consistent about coming back to that, I can't not see that. So now I have to reckon with that. Now I have to actually take seriously the fact that sometimes I am not there, and see why that is, and really ask myself, where does that come from? And of course, that it's almost like that is that to ask that question is almost to ask the same question another way, would be to say, what is it that I need to heal? What is it that gives me that? Because I consider it kind of like a weakness, not in the sense of like a moral failing, but a weakness in the sense of, if I will give up my integrity in that way willingly, in those instances, I'm not being forced to do that. I'm willingly sort of forfeiting my deeper integrity. And the question is, well, why? Right? Like, why would I do that? What is it what is it that compels me? And I think, again, I'm trying to, it's interesting to even unpack this in words on a post like this and share this, because it doesn't feel like this is a self-flagellating or a kind of, the kind of impulse where it's like, I need to be perfect at being a healer. I don't feel that. I don't feel that compulsion, and I don't think that that's what I'm angling for here. But what I am sort of saying to myself is, I'm being offered data. I'm being offered data about my own awareness and my own habits of thought. I'm getting information about where my mind goes off the track that I know feels so right when I'm on it. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing that I'm finding fascinating, is that having kind of declared this intention and having now found myself, okay, I'm holding myself accountable here, I'm checking in daily and kind of making just a gesture internally and then also externally to really position myself there, to really come to that core, come from that core. So so then it becomes a question of strategy. You know, where do I go off? And I mean, if I had to answer that question, it's like I simply allow a particular kind of seductive avoidance to have me temporarily. Like I temporarily allow myself to avoid the deeper feeling of like, what am I really doing? And am I truly embodying that? Am I truly offering that? Am I truly committed to that? It's a form of avoidance. So like talking about other people is a form of avoidance. Thinking about other people, what I call playing the angry tape. I will say, I have noticed in the last, I don't know, week or so, that angry tape has piped down. If you're new to this post, the angry tape, as I call it, is my kind of rehearsed inner monologue of anger and sometimes ranting against circumstances, situations, people, you name it, whatever it can direct itself towards any thing, one, stuff, situation, thoughts that happen to be available, that happen to look like a good hook for my ire or for my, sometimes it's righteous indignation. I call that the angry tape. It's when I internally just rant. And I have noticed I'm doing that a lot less. And all I can attribute that to is, like I felt it this morning, the reason why I thought to myself, ooh, this is happening a lot less, is because I saw one of those thoughts start to surface as I was sitting in meditation. I saw like one of those thoughts that almost certainly would have hooked me, I don't know, a month or two, a couple months ago. I saw it kind of emerge, and then like for like 1 minute, my mind just kind of like automatically hooked into the thought cycle of that, but I wasn't interested in it. Then the whole time I was like, I just wasn't hooked by it. And then as soon as I saw, oh, this is just that, it was like so easy to dismiss it, which I took as a sign of progress. I was like, that's great. Less, not just less interest in my own avoidance of truth. That feels like a big step. That feels like an important thing to also affirm and celebrate for myself, that there's a way in which I have actually let go of some of that. And I think, I'm bringing I'm really just trying to hold myself to account and ask how serious am I about identifying when that is happening, and how honest can I be? How honest and transparent to myself can I be? Because ultimately, it's my own happiness we're talking about. The thing that I'm looking away from is my own happiness. I'm taking my own happiness and saying, you're not as important as this emotion that I'm addicted to feeling. That's the choice. Our deepest happiness and most authentic expression in the world, or the emotions and thoughts and actions that we're addicted to. What's it going to be? And knowing that, and I sort of like tongue-in-cheek framing that in as though the choice is so obvious. I know that the choice is not always so obvious, and it's not always. It can be very subtle, but actually fundamentally that kind of is what it is. It's like we're either putting our awareness in that thing, that basin that's the core of everything, and that like all I have to do is go there and like my whole spine lights up with energy, or go over here and like have stuff to be mad about and talk shit and be frustrated with myself. So the choice is pretty obvious if I can be transparent, if I can be attentive to myself and actually listen. So that's what's showing up today, people. Tomorrow we dive back in, another long tech day. Can't wait. But thanks for watching. So much love. I appreciate you. Oh my God, this conversation is such a ridiculously huge part of my own development and building an awareness around some of these things. So I appreciate you. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.